last day in Shinjuku Guen, last day in Tokyo. Um, and as I exit Tokyo, I wanted to share some news with you. So I've decided to change my name. Not the first name. I promised you all that I'd never change my first name, so I'm still Matt, but I'm changing my last name from Smeda to Smida. Not much of a change, right? So I'm just changing the spelling of the last name a little bit. So I'm discarding two of the letters that make it cumbersome to use, the Z and the A, and going with this new spelling, Smida, and a slightly different pronunciation too, with that I over there. And I've got a couple of reasons for this. I want to walk through and just explain the rationale for this, and then we'll leave Tokyo because I've got a flight to catch pretty soon. All right, so point one here is that the name Smeda is too cumbersome to use, right? So this is something that I've thought. It's not that I've thought a lot about it, but when like trying to communicate my name with somebody, or even when faced with the decision of whether to like share my name with someone, it's like, ah, crap. We're gonna have to go through that whole like spelling thing with like talking about zebras and dogs, like SZ. Holy crap, did he just say C or Z? Oh wait, he's already on to the sixth. Could you run that by me again? Yeah, sure. Actually, let me just write it down for you. I don't want to have to deal with this. I don't want to do the dance of spelling and talking about zebras and dogs. Smida. It's not a common name, right? So it's also somewhat more difficult to communicate than a name just like, I don't know, Edwards or something like this. But it's at least easier than dealing with Z's and things like this. So the idea here is that it'll be easier for me to communicate the name, and therefore I'll feel better about doing so, and also better about actually sharing my name and building up some kind of reputation around this name. You know, I've been hesitant to even build up any kind of reputation or like engage with life, if you want to put it that way. It's a little strong, but yeah, I guess you could put it that way. Engage with life because I've thought in the back of my mind on some level for years now, it's like, you know, someday I'm going to do something about that damn name. And now on my last day in Tokyo, I'm thinking like, well, last day on this like 6 month trip in Tokyo and probably not really doing this travel stuff anymore. We'll get into that in just a few moments here, at least not for a long time here. But because I'm leaving here soon, going back to the US and going to work on more of this like professional reputation and also the personal reputation a little bit more. It's like going to re-engage with people in America once again and maybe re-engage in a new career. Again, we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm thinking, well, if it's going to happen, it's got to happen now. So I'm making the change now. Another reason for the change, so it's easier to communicate. The thing that got me really thinking about the name was a while back when I was in college, and I had a professor named Dr. Vol, Polish guy. Um, and he laughed when he saw my name and he told me, "Hey, you're pronouncing your name wrong." And I said, "All right, Dr. Vol, like, how am I supposed to pronounce my name?" He said, "Maida." And he kind of laughed a little bit. I said, "All right, thanks, Dr. Vol. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to keep saying Smeda." And that planted a seed that made me think, like, what does my name mean anyway? And I looked into it a couple years later, and I didn't like what I found. You can see on the screen a couple of things that I found right now, and I'm like, all right, I would maybe be fine sticking with that for myself, but I don't think that I can conscience passing that on to another generation. So I haven't decided yet whether to have a kid or kids, but I don't want that to be part of the calculus when making that decision. So I imagine like a conversation with a future son or daughter when they're like, 20 or 30. It's like, hey, dad, like, why did you stick me with this? You could have changed it. And I'm like, yeah, I was just too lazy to go and do that. So sorry about that. You're also Smeda, and you have to deal with this. And I have the opportunity to make that change, so I'm going to take it. Now, this is a precedent in my family too. So there was once a J in the name, SMSZMA. Schmida, Schmida. But that was changed to make it easier to use in America. So I'm continuing this tradition of making things easier to use, but also changing the connotation to something new. And this is the next point that I like, and the reason why I went with this particular spelling. So Smida is a Swedish word. So I'm pronouncing it wrong. I guess it's something closer to smuda, but we're not going to say it that way. We're also going to Americanize this new word, smida. And it means something like smith or make or forge. So I like this connotation of the new name because instead of the connotation of the old name where it's like this more mischievous kind of thing, which is consistent with what I've been doing in my life over the last couple of years. I've been kind of mischievously pursuing this alternative strategy of this financial independence and retire early thing. And it's been a little bit like conniving of me. And I feel bad about that now. I feel like, maybe there's more to life than just like getting free and abusing the system in this way. So that's actually what I want to do now. I want to do something closer to Smith or to make the future. And that's what I'm doing with this new transition. So I'm going from this like more mischievous kind of thing to like, yeah, let's be optimistic and let's take charge of making a better future. I have some ideas for how I might engage in that kind of project, but they're sort of like speculative and not well formed at this point. And anyway, it's outside the scope of this video, and that's for me to figure out in the next year or 5 years or something like this. But that's the general idea about how I plan to approach the next couple of years, and that's exciting to me. And I like to see this name change as a way of leaning into that. So I'm wondering now, are there any other points that I need to hit? Excuse me while I consult with the notebook here. Oh, hey, frequently asked questions. So why not just change the name to Smith? Like if you're going to change the name and it's something like to make it to Smith, then why not just completely lean into it and change it to Smith? Well, I want to work with the raw material that I've been handed here, right? So I've been handed by life, by circumstance, this name, Smeda. And it's not that I want to totally like throw that out and leave it behind and change to something else. I want to work with that material. So it's like and I'll repeat the point that I made earlier. It's like I've got this precedent that was set earlier where it's like, okay, you can use this spelling that came to you and then just like kind of massage it a little bit. That's what we're doing. And that's why we're changing it to this, just dropping out the Z and the A. So I like the aesthetics of the solution. You just need to get rid of two letters and you've got a new name to work with. So thank you for asking that question. And that's the only frequently asked question during this video. So we're done with the frequently asked questions section. All right, so let's wrap this up. Changing my name, we're going from Smeda, cumbersome, hard to use, hard to communicate, and doesn't go, I don't like the connotation of it so much, to this new name, Smida, by dropping two of the letters, the Z and the A. Doing this on my last day here in Tokyo as I transition into the next chapter of my life. So marking that transition with this big change that I've been thinking about for a while. And forging ahead with this new future where I'm excited to work on making a better future. Not exactly sure how I'm going to do that yet, but that's the plan. That's how I've changed the plan from simply just being free, kicking back and like jumping onto a sailboat for the rest of my life. Not going to do that because I found that that seems to be like not a great solution for how to live, at least not now. Maybe we could test that in the future, but not yet. So that's it. That's the name change. Smeda to Smeda. And this park is just about to close, so I need to go now. Anyway, take care. Bye bye. He said, take care. Uh, I'll just dub that out and say, bye bye. I wish I knew how to end videos. Still working on that, but we'll do that again. This park is just about to close now.